This is an attempt at an updated or refined version of a video I uploaded about this subject a long time ago. Now I'm going to give up a couple of really quick pieces of information. The individual I'm talking about wrote a book, or several various editions, and other books in his lifespan, and I don't believe he's correct in his assertions, assumptions, or theories. That's not relevant. What's relevant is people out there who are trying to peddle it as some sort of mystical piece of information won't give you any facts about the author. This video is about the author of a book or a series of works. 1920, February 15th, Chan Thomas was born in Kansas City, Missouri. His actual name is Chauncey Powers Thomas, according to birth records, death certificates, and confirmation using his face to confirm his alma mater and all the other information about what he did for a living, which I'm going to be presenting. His father was James Aiken Thomas IV. He was 28 at the time that Chan was born. And Carolina Giles Powers, hence his middle name. She was 27 when he was born. 1943, we're going way further ahead. October 28th, Saturday. At the age of 23, Chauncey and his parents were at 8 Wilburn Road, Scarsdale, New York, where they lived apparently at the time. Or at least that's what was listed in the papers where it announced him having an event that day. This was a house that was built in 1926 when he was 6 years old, and it probably wasn't where he was born, obviously. Chauncey's brother was Lieutenant James A. Thomas and was stationed at Detroit, Michigan as an inspector of naval aircraft at the Jefferson Plant, Chrysler Corporation, and had come home for the weekend to attend his brother's Columbia University graduation after Chauncey received a Bachelor of Science degree in electrical engineering, something I'm somewhat familiar in. And after this, Chauncey was employed by Carl L. Norden Laboratories Incorporation on the staff of research engineers. And this is, of course, citations, please. Scarsdale's Inquirer, data backup files, page 11 of the November 12th, 1943 copy of the paper in the advertisement section under Bachelor of Science. If you look it up that way, and the link I'll provide below will be an archive of an image and also of me searching it and someone else doing it, but it's actually listed as one of the few things that was ever bookmarked. Anyway, also in the directory for 1941, 42, and 43, catalogs of students' data files, page 993 as page 181 of one of the file sets as C.P. Thomas at 8 Weyburn Road. The links below will also include the street view of the house. It's still there. And it still lists the time and date stamp of when it was built. I mean, it's literally the house he grew up in, or spent time in anyway, but that was where he was born anyway. Carl Lucas Norden, if you're not aware of him, started the Norden Laboratories Corporation, NLC, which was also an anagram for his initials, at Varick Street, New York City in 1943. This is also the year that Chan, or Chauncey, started working there. This is the guy who created the bomb site that became heavily important during the Second World War and that sort of thing. And they moved a couple of times. 1948, December 11th, little Christmas present, he married Eleanor Ruth Bonn, who became Eleanor Ruth Bonn Thomas. They were in Fargo, North Dakota. She was a home economics, English, and science teacher learning there at North Dakota State University. 1949, Chauncey started researching cataclysmic versus uniformity-based geology when he was 29. At 39, Chauncey did a November seminar in 1959 and a publication on earthquake prediction. Now, when he was 43, his 1963 January 1st Emerson House, Los Angeles, California edition of the book you were looking up to find this video was listed as a 41-page long pamphlet, excluding blank pages and cover. Now, this is very specific. Yale University Library catalog listed in the library shelving facility. As of today, there's a copy of that version of it. That's version 1. And as you may know, edition 1 is never called edition 1. Yeah. Anyway, and I list below Orbis, Library, Yale, yada, 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 and the archive of it. Every time I can archive something I do, because it's a short URL, haha, but really it just makes it to where you can actually see it down in the description. He claimed at one point to have predicted quakes in 1960, 1962, 63, and a 5-year lack of hardcore ones in California, and also referenced 1779's Deluc and 1812's Cuvier's cataclysmic geology theories, and saying they apparently work. When he was 45, in 1965, the third edition of the Emerson House LA California edition of his pamphlet came out, and it is listed as 56 pages long. It's a pamphlet. Now, this may or may not be excluding blank pages and a cover. This is at the Michigan State University catalog listing, and again, it's available. They have it in the library, and you can go read it. I don't know if you can check it out. 1966, his father died. 1987, his mother died, and his wife Eleanor Ruth Baum Thomas retired from teaching. 1998, February 14th, at the age of 78, Chauncey P. Thomas, aka Chan Thomas, died. He was in South Chatham, Massachusetts, and his New York gravestone is at Mount Hope Cemetery, Hastings-on-Hudson, Westchester County. There's very little data about him, including him working at a specific company, but the company was the company making a secret bomb site. That explains why he's in an enigma. He spent a huge period of time there, probably, but we don't even have that reference. And yes, there is a forum you can contact and ask if any of them recognize him, but he was probably known as having kooky ideas and probably being a whole hell of a lot of fun, by the way. There is no evidence he was ever on The Tonight Show. There's another person who goes by a similar name, but it isn't him. It's just not the same person, because you can look that person up and they have a completely different history. And, of course, was a person who was on, The Tonight Show. Now, after he died, 2010, Eleanor Ruth Baum Thomas, at 87, passed away in Camarillo. Now we're at the point where most of you have looked this subject up. In 2013, the CIA released a PDF set of files, many of them. One of them shows shows the file. You probably found this in. Now remember the number of pages. It's 4 pages that are just a copy from Time magazine from 1966. Now that places this in the 1960-1965 time range when they collected this, which means it has to be the 3rd edition or older. All right? And 2 pages of a transmittal slip that doesn't have a time and date stamp, which if I was working in the police department or the military or wherever this was collected at for what it contains, I'll read it in a minute, I would slap someone over the head with a hard stick until they wrote down a time and date stamp. And I'd make them do it in ISO format, century, year, month, day, and hour, minute, and second, because not doing that really is irritating. But let's continue. This transmittal slip, this is 2 pages, so we have 6 pages. 6 pages out of that PDF file have nothing to do with Chan Thomas. They just don't. But anyway, the transmittal slip is a possessions found in a car, third-party list, sprinkler, toolbox, hole saw set, auger bit set, 9-volt transistor battery, a charger, C-cells, a monowatt handy light on the next page, auto map light, blinking warning, tire gauge, car wash brush, fender repair kit, magnetic key holder, and reflecting tape. Most of this anyway, is consistent with it being stuff that was just found in a car. It has nothing to do with Chan Thomas. Again, it doesn't. Among this is a copy of the Adam and Eve story. Now, it has a table of contents that said page 45 was the conclusion. So this indicates it's the short one, but not the shortest one. It's longer, apparently. Or the other reference for his 1st edition simply didn't include blank pages. Now, I've synthesized a blank page included version of it for a simple reason. I wanted to check whether or not the page numbers would flip sides when you go through them. And they do. Now, and the thing is, it's consistent. They flip sides. What that means is, very strongly, is that the 3rd edition was an optimized printing job. I'll explain that in a minute if I have time. But let's continue. Table of contents on page 45 said that was the conclusion, so this is obviously supposed to be more than 41 pages. It even lists that page number. And right now I'm looking at my stack of them that I have on my computer that I've done. And again, I've synthesized some blank pages to put in there for whatever equivalent pages were redacted. The only actual sign of redaction is a very obvious bit of tape that was put onto one of the sheets of paper at one point. Now, I don't know if you've ever done this, but unless you use heat and steam to remove tape, you're going to damage the paper. And if that's the way it was found as a piece of evidence, or just something chucked in the back of a car that somebody had to tow or confiscate, or maybe it was involved in some sort of question and answer session, again, we don't have the time and date stamp. It could have been the 1970s this was found in, but it's probably in the 1960s. They don't have a reason to remove the tape. And under the tape is probably who it was. For my friend such and such, from such and such. And the from such and such, again, isn't Chan Thomas. So this is literally a pamphlet that he was selling actively through a publisher, several of them at one point, that was held onto by somebody. And why aren't we seeing the blank pages? Because one of the things people do with random zines and pamphlets and just random stuff is writing stuff on the blank pages and keeping it in the pamphlet. It's a great way to keep notes. I did it all the damn time. This page intentionally left blank, use it for notes, is very common. And that is the most likely reason you don't have those imaged. They were probably part of some investigation of some stuff that was found in someone's car. Period. The fact that the CIA had a previously secured version of it is not relevant. Also, they did not include in it, because it's literally paper at the time, they didn't have to include some binary signature of how many real pages were there. Odds are the blank pages, and they were very likely blank. There's no busting up the narrative here. They probably contain the information that would be considered private to an investigation, but this is the stuff that isn't. And it's a dead case, so that's why they release it. But they're compelled to keep them from keeping secrets, and mostly so that we can find out what they were up to at the time. Obviously, it was somebody being picked up who had their car searched, and this was the tag with it, and they had some pages from this. It also could be that somebody just tore out the pages, or didn't need them, or they were just blank. I'll get to the optimization idea in a minute. The Adam and Eve story copy omitted or had filler or blank pages at pages 8, 18, 20, 30, 36, 46, 48, 50, 52. Now I want you to notice something, and also 54. They're all round numbers. Facing versus non-facing pages. Okay, now, the dimensions of this thing matches a folded 9x11 zine that's photocopied out or whatever on just ordinary typewriter paper, and then folded in half and has staples put through the middle. That's a common printing format, and it's very close to exactly the same thing you and I could make as a little book about that big, like a manual for a computer or something like that. Of the 14 pages missing, the work may have been authored with the original 41 printed page, the same as the 1963 first edition. I don't know. But it does clearly have, really, a specific number of pages printed. Notes on the author says it was he says 1943, Columbia University, Dartmouth College, and electrical engineer, all there, confirming I've got the right name. Because that's the only person, literally, that matches it. And I'm not kidding. Someone else did most of this work. He's a Redditor. This was Chauncey P. Thomas's 1965 third edition from Emerson House LA, California, made on 8x11 sheets, folded as a 5.5 by 8 inch staple bound 55-page pamphlet. It was never many more pages. That came later. It's a compendium of works of his. In 2018, there were copies listed in 21 libraries you can go look at on WorldCat. Truthers exploited this by trying to sell it for $1,000 a pop. Short and sweet. There may be more than one version, just rearranging the pages. If you have to do double-sided sheet printing, photocopying like we do today, some pages, if you could just make them all, like the cover, all in one side print, the other side isn't going to have anything on it. You put all of the pages together that only need one side print in one part of the printing production, and the other part gets a double print. It makes it cheaper to put them on one sheet. I'm mocking up one, and I'll put it up on the Imager like I did the last time. The history of this person does not indicate that he has an expertise in the area that this work is about. There is no evidence it was ever censored or suppressed, and there's hundreds of copies around the world, but there are some of them you can go look up at libraries. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with it.